purchasing of hollow point bullets. Now,
Right.
hollow point bullets are a violation of the Geneva Convention. So the only way we could use hollow point bullets is on U.S. soil. We couldn't use them in a foreign war because of the Geneva Convention.
Right.
So
So it's something that, if you followed some of them articles that where Homeland Security originally came out and said, yeah, that was just for training purposes. And the reason they bought in such a large bulk is because of what they were saving. Then they turned around a short time, I think it was within a couple of weeks, and they said, oh, no, we haven't actually done the purchasing. This is something like on our wish list.
Oh.
The actual facts are, this is something that has been out there in government bidding, and
Right.
it's proof that this is not a wish list. It's an actual accusation or
Right.
acquisition of the materials.
Well,
So,
yeah, and if you need any proof, all you have to do is go to your local sporting goods store or wherever you could, buy ammunition, and you'll see there's a huge shortage.
oh yeah, that's without a doubt. I mean, I've seen that for a couple of months where people have said that, even the local Walmart stores, that the local police, or I've even seen one recently in the past couple of days. It was up in Maryland or something, that they were saying that first thing in the morning, FBI agents would come in and buy out everything that was in the rack for ammo.
Right. Yeah, and I another article was local law enforcement basically running out of 40 caliber ammunition, and it was I think it was a sheriff's department or just a city, but basically ordering all the officers to go and buy all the ammo that they can because they don't have any. Our own police.
I've actually seen one stories where local police departments or sheriff departments were actually buying from local people as far as reloaders and such.
Right.
Or whether you'd like to consider them the hoarders,
Yeah, and yeah. I mean, at this point, I mean, they need the tools to do their job, and I have nothing against law enforcement, really. As long as they keep themselves professional,
Unfortunately, that's been a real sliding slope. There is what's going on in the news with the abuse and the beatings from local law enforcement. And, unfortunately, I hate to say it, I think a lot of it is because of the rookies. And
it could be, yeah. I mean, I do have a friend that is in school for criminal justice. Minnesota and Colorado, they seem to be the only two states that actually require a college education to become a police officer. So she's actually in college right now to become a police officer. And yeah, she even says that, it's most of the rookies that are fresh out of college, they're either they have a power trip or whatever, or it could be just veterans of the force that have just had enough of it. And,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's kind of like, I hate to say it, but it's kind of like years back where that terminology came up about going postal. Unfortunately, there was a tie there between military veterans working for the government and the postal service. So there was a snapping point. Are we seeing the same thing with our police departments across the country? That these are recent vets that came back and they're automatically put into a law enforcement position because they have that military backing?
Well, let's think. Let's look at this if you have time. I don't know. Okay. Now let's look at this from an outside point of view. Okay, if we can, or at least I'll try to do it. You might throw up, but put ourselves in Obama's shoes. Yeah. Let's think. Okay. Let's picture us being the Obama administration, as sickening as it is, and if you want to take a shower afterwards, I completely understand. But now local law enforcement is having trouble buying ammunition. Sheriff's office, FBI, city police, everything. But yet, your Department of Homeland Security, or as I call it, the Gestapo in the U.S., is buying it by the billions. We got the UN Small Arms Treaty. We got UN troops already on the ground here in the U.S. What if, and this is this is a hypothesis, but what if, if I'm going to wage war on the American people, the first thing I want to take away is their line of defense, and that's going to be sheriffs, that's going to be police, that's going to be armed forces, military, and after that, then I'm going to go for registration, confiscation of private civilian firearms. I mean, we're already seeing that with the government buybacks, and California and New York, they're doing gun confiscations because people are mentally ill. So,
well, that's the same thing with. I mean, California is a perfect example on that. How they've within the past couple of months, they've passed these laws that if you're a veteran or even a family member. I've seen some news articles about that. Well, family members had they were pretty much. What's the word I want to use? They were detained in a mental evaluation status, or they were on some kind of a psychological type drug, and they said California passed that law where, geez, you know what? Even though you might be the owner of the gun, and there's no problems with you on our records, because of your spouse being treated for, that, you can't have the gun in the house. I mean, it's like our veterans coming back and look at how they're going after veterans and saying, geez, you got the, what do they call it, PTSD?
Yeah, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah. So, and they're looking at that and they're going, geez, you don't qualify to own a weapon. And these are veterans, and regardless of their age, whether they're 18, 20 years old or 35 years old, and they're coming back from Iraq or Afghanistan or something, and now the government's going, because you signed up at VA looking for some help, psychologically you can't legally own a weapon. Now, where is that right? They're good enough. They're in good enough shape to go over and fight a war for the rich and elite that are sitting in Washington and whining and dining every day, but these people suddenly come back from living in the dirt or living in the sand, and now all of a sudden they don't qualify to own a weapon. Right,
and don't get me wrong. I'm all for keeping weapons out of the criminally insane and the Adam Lanzas out there. But people that like veterans for one. Just saying that, well, you were in a war, you have PTSD. One, that's not a confirmed diagnosis, but and other people too. They may have a little depression, or something. Situational depression comes up, and stuff may go a little too far, and you get put in in a mental institution for a 72-hour hold. Which doesn't mean you're crazy, doesn't mean you're mentally ill. It just means you were there for observation. And obviously, because you were only there for 72 hours, they let you go. There must not have been too much of an issue. But, I'm talking like people with schizophrenia and that are just way, way out there, or, but not people that, have depression. Because, 80% of the American population has been diagnosed with depression at one point in time or another. And especially with this economic downfall that we're going in. And if you thought we were in a recession before, just wait, folks. Give it a couple months. We'll be in a depression in a few months. So
that's exactly where we're headed. It's the same thing with this big push on the immigration, the amnesty for immigration. That's another part of this factor. I look at that, and I think you had mentioned something about the 11 million or something in there earlier.
Yep.
And I lived in Texas for 5 years. I've seen a lot of that stuff firsthand. I've seen so many illegals that couldn't even speak English. Everything was done in Spanish. It was like, you got to be kidding me. How can you come to this country and expect to survive? You can't even assimilate to our ways or our language.
Right. Well, and the other thing I didn't mention on this episode, but the last one I did, and when you hear the term illegal immigrant, you automatically think Hispanic or Mexican, right? Because that's, as a pop culture, the media has shoved it down our brainwash us, border jumpers, crossing the Rio Grande or Crossing Mexico into
the majority of it.
Right.
That's the thing.
Right. But, but how many of those illegal immigrants were from Saudi Arabia or Iraq or the Middle East
or India or Bangladesh?
Yeah, or just any Muslim country. I mean, there's already, I don't know if it's been confirmed or not. Probably hasn't, but that President Obama is a member of the Muslim Brotherhood, which is hell bent on destroying the United States of America.
Exactly.
And we're funding them. I mean, look. I mean, how many F-16s and M4 tank or M2 tanks? Or we gave them tanks. We gave them F-16s. We gave them rifles, all into Libya.
Right.
And like, why? I don't know. It's like, it's not like these machines that we had were, obsolete or that we couldn't use them anymore. We definitely could use them. But, I think that's another way of the administration trying to disarm the American people, because getting those jets, those tanks, those rifles out of the country now is going to be less for the armed forces to use in protection of us, the United States people. And because
that was like 20 F-16s and 200 tanks.
Yeah, and probably about 200 to 1,000 assault rifles, or actual M16s, or they're M4s. Sorry, M4s. Yeah. I believe. I don't know. Anyways, but I mean, so all of this stuff, and because most polls, I haven't seen the recent one, but from those that I've talked to in law enforcement and in the armed forces, both former and currently serving, I want to say it's up to about 75% or 80% of them will be on the side of the people.
Right.
And, you got the Sheriff's Association, like Sheriff Mack, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, and other sheriffs, a lot of them from Colorado. They're recalling one of their senators. First time in Colorado history. There's going to be a recall on one of the senators from Colorado, the one that was so big on the gun push in Colorado, and talked so badly about the sheriffs in Colorado. And now they held a meeting and they were able to get 16,000 signatures, which is double the amount that's needed to hold a recall election in Colorado. So
the only problem with that is, don't be surprised if they don't rewrite the laws that say what the numbers are needed. I mean, Washington did the same thing with this petitioning the White House. I think originally it started off at you needed something like 5,000 signatures for the White House to consider a petition. Then it went to like 25,000.
Yep.
A couple of months back, it went from 25,000 to 100,000.
Yep. Yeah, because I remember after the 2012 election results were revealed that Obama was reelected, about 35 states petitioned the federal government to secede from the Union. And
exactly. And Texas was one of the leading states.
Yes, yeah. And earlier on in the show, I was talking about, Fast and the Furious and how the Mexican government wants the registration of gun owners in Texas and Arizona and New Mexico.
Yeah,
right. And the thing is, I said, is the one thing that I've learned in my year and a half of broadcasting and the people that I've met during that time is you do not mess with Texas.
Right. I hate to say it, but yeah, even if you look at like with me, one of the things that I've seen, and it's actually brought it to my full view, is with finding out, with using like Unite by Zip,
right.
I find out where a good majority of people are across our country. So, I mean, I might see so many followers or so many believers from New York State. Obviously, I don't reach everybody, but the thing is that Texas comes out in boatloads of numbers. That is one state that is leading. Texas is a big state, and yes, they do have that belief. Even a lot of the Texas laws for gun ownership lean towards the Second Amendment and people being able to arm themselves. So,
right.
one of the things that's outstanding about Texas. I don't totally, like I said, I spend 5